President Bongbong Marcos is being urged to delay the release of supposed budget pork until post-2025 elections. Former Senate President Franklin Drilon called on Marcos to classify Congress-introduced amendments in the 2025 budget as for later release or FLR. He said this will prevent public funds from being used for election purposes ahead of the 2025 polls. Drilon warned that the 2025 budget could be misused as an election tool. The FLR practice was used in previous administrations to ensure fund transparency.
Now let's discuss that further with former Senate President Franklin Drilon himself. Senator, good morning. Thank you again for joining us here on Brunch.
Good morning for having me today. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yes, Senator, last time you spoke, you were saying that if you were going to write something about this budget, you'd write how to make your pork barrel or something to that effect. And now you're asking for this FLR mechanism because most especially now, it's election season. So how does the FLR mechanism really work in terms of transparency and holding those accountable?
Well, first, before I answer that, I must assert that this budget for the last 2 years is really full of pork barrel, and a new technique has been discovered how to fund this. Of course, this was started by the administration of Rodrigo Duterte. But having said that, my computation is that there is at least 731.4 billion in available funds in the 2024 and 2025 General Appropriations Act to find the pork barrel. Let me repeat that for emphasis. 731.4 billion is available in the 2024 and 2025 General Appropriations Act, which will fund the pork barrel. What are the items under the pork barrel? It is extremely difficult for us to figure out what it is because we do not have the staff to look at all of this. What we're just looking at is how much was transferred to the unprogrammed funds and programmed activities, so that those where there is a sure funding, it created a fiscal space or available funds where the pork barrel items can be inserted. I repeat, I do not know what these pork barrel items are.
Yes.
All that we know is that there are available funds. That is why I had proposed that in order to prevent the use of these pork barrel funds, the 2025 election, they should be marked for later release. This is being done, this was done in the past, but it is especially necessary today because of the huge amount of pork barrel funds spread out all over the General Appropriations Act. And we do not know where these are. All that we know is that there were available 731.4 billion in funds for which can fund the pork barrel. That is why I have challenged the DBM to tell us which items can be covered by the for later release classification, so that we will know that these are the funds which were inserted by the legislators so that it can fund pork barrel projects.
Senator, in your opinion, kasama po ba dyan yung mga AKAP, since that's been quite controversial, na pwede raw gamitin ng mga tatakbo for election purposes?
Pwede kasama, pero hindi natin alam with certainty. Kasi hindi natin nakita, we do not see where these funds went. It is there, but you have to have staff and the access that the DBM has in order to see where these available funds are. And it is their duty to tell us, the public, kung saan po nila which items were incorporated, which are clearly pork barrel insertions, and therefore must be exposed to the public because they said that the for later release mechanism is there in the veto message. Yes, it might be there in the veto message that allows for later release practice. But the implementation is certainly a challenge because we do not know which items were funded
Yes.
by the practice of transferring to unprogrammed activities, the program activities, projects, which are certain to be funded.
So just to make it clear, no, Senator, yung 700 billion plus na sinasabi nyo, all of these are unprogrammed funds, and you're mentioning na for later release mechanism, we could indicate if the President will accept this, pwede na sabihin after the election season, doon ang dates na gagamitin ito.
That is correct. 731.4 in 2024 and 2025. In 2025, the item is 347 billion transferred to their program fund. In 2024, it was 449 billion. I repeat, in 2024, 449 billion were moved to the unprogrammed activities and unprogrammed funds, and 2025, 347 billion, or a total of over 731.4 billion, which were available for pork barrel insertions. What are these pork barrel insertions? We do not know. That is why I have challenged them, mark these items as FLR or for later release, because PM knows what are these items which were increased and incorporated by amendment of the legislators.
But Senator, you actually also tagged the vetoing of President Marcos on the 168 billion pesos worth of unprogrammed funds as, quote, sabi niyo po, cosmetic. Can you elaborate more on that, Senator?
Well, you cannot make a big fuss out of vetoing the unprogrammed funds because unprogrammed activities and unprogrammed funds means that you can only use those items of appropriation if there is an excess of collection in taxes, if there are new sources of revenue, or if there are new loans secured. In other words, these are standby authority. So that means nothing. When you veto, even if you do not veto this, if there are no excess funds or new taxes or new loans, baliwala po ito. It can never be used. But what they did was to move items which are funded to the unprogrammed portion of the budget so that there is enough money in order to fund the pork barrel, which is now in the programmed activities.
Yes, Senator, also some other former lawmakers and economists were saying that if you should take a look at the DPWH itself, a lot of pork may possibly go to these projects, especially in areas located where a lot of these congressmen daw are running, na pwedeng wag daw magulat, baka maglabasan daw mga poster nila pag may ginagawang kalye or may ginagawang tulay. Ano po ang comment niyo dito, Senator?
Tama po yan. The bulk of the pork barrel is in the DPWH. There were a lot of amendments and insertions in the budget of the DPWH. But hindi po makikita ito eh. Nakakalat ito sa buong bansa. Kaya hindi mo malaman kung isang proyekto ay congressional insertion or pork barrel or regular item. It is extremely difficult if it is being released, especially if it's released before the prohibited period, pork barrel. That is why I am challenging the DBM to publish which of these items are under the classification of for later release if they are saying that the budget message of the President authorizes this delay in the releases.
All right, well, we will await if PBBM will do heed your call, sir, for the for later release proposal, mechanism. But for now, thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on Brunch. That was former Senate President Frank Drilon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Happy
Happy
New
New Year,
Year.
sir. All right, yun, BBM.
Yan na, may mga challenges na for 2025.
Yes, so let's
Tingnan
see.
natin.